Hi, I'm Caitlin Maio.
And I'm Teagan Hale, and we're from Frontier Regional High School, and today we're going to be talking about navigating new paths for asynchronous feedback. With the rise of AI, some may question the future of asynchronous tutoring. However, today's presentation will explore new paths for the future of asynchronous feedback. Students have been turning to AI to enhance their writing, but the question is, can AI really replace proper peer asynchronous feedback? This is what we will explore. We'll start our journey with the comparison of the benefits and drawbacks of in-person versus asynchronous tutoring. We'll view the barriers and benefits of both forms of tutoring, and we will map new trails that allow for greater accessibility and more effective feedback within the asynchronous world. We will also examine how AI differs from peer asynchronous feedback. Hopefully, by the end, you will gain insights into asynchronous tutoring strategies which are going to be very beneficial for enhancing accessibility and flexibility moving into the future.
So, to talk about a little bit our center, we're at a relatively small school. We have around 600 students. Currently, we have 10 tutors. We would have inserted a picture, but we're not in it because we just joined this year. We do both virtual and in-person appointments. We have our own website where students can go and have accessibility to scheduling appointments. We have workshops that we do to teach people who want to be new tutors. We got it this year. And then we're located in our LMC. We have our own room where people can work quietly and we can work with people one-on-one. And we are connected with our English and history departments, so we can communicate with teachers and they can send students down to us for specific assignments, and they can give students extra credit for coming to our center and working with us.
Now we're going to look a little bit at our essential question and how we came to this question. We began this process by brainstorming, and we found that we kept coming to questions that had a connection to technology. This is because we understand that learning digitally has expanded, and it will continue to expand. For example, with events like COVID in 2020, people had to resort to using platforms like Zoom and Google Meets, and lives were led through technology. With this digital age, education will be taking place more and more through technology, and we think it's important to expand our tutoring process with that. We were curious about AI and its impact on learning and why students were flocking to AI instead of asynchronous feedback. Kind of what did AI have that asynchronous feedback didn't, as well as how does asynchronous feedback differ from synchronous feedback, because asynchronous tutoring is a relatively new thing for our personal writing center. So questions like these led us to the topic of asynchronous tutoring in our own center and how we can improve it, which led us to the final question of how can we make asynchronous tutoring as effective as possible?
So first, what is synchronous tutoring? Synchronous tutoring refers to when students learn together or at the same time. This could be online, Zoom, or Google Meet. It also refers to traditional classroom learning in the way that most Americans experience. Majority of our sessions have been synchronous in person. However, we started asynchronous peer tutoring sessions last year. Like we previously said that we were connected with the English and history department. All those appointments made are usually in person, where they send their students down during their class time, and we're in the writing center and we work with them and we look at their writing. So then, what is asynchronous tutoring? Asynchronous tutoring refers to when students do not learn at the same time. This means it takes place online. This form of tutoring is new to our writing center, which is why we were curious about it. We do this through comments on Google Docs. It is a growing form of educating students. It can also be through videos, but not live chats like Zoom. We've had many people sign up through Google Forms and stuff like that, and we get a link to their writing, and then we comment on it and all that stuff, and it's easy for them to access. It's important to understand that both these forms can be online, but offer different advantages and disadvantages. This chart from Ohio State University uses a Venn diagram to visually compare these ideas. So, it says the synchronous online classes and asynchronous online classes, the similarities and differences. So asynchronous online classes offer to complete work each week on your schedule, receive immediate feedback on quizzes, schedule group work when it's most convenient for everyone. Synchronous online classes allows attend class virtually each week with instructors and classmates, participate in real-time discussions during class time, and improve presentation skills. The things that they have in common is attend class from anywhere, communicate regularly with instructors, and network and make connections with classmates. At our school, we have both in-person and asynchronous tutoring sessions. Tutees may wonder which kind would be more suitable for them. Both have many pros and cons. For in-person tutoring, it can allow more flexible scheduling, which can be helpful for tutors and tutees who both have their own schoolwork going on and need a good time to do it. It allows immediate feedback, which is important for like due dates and stuff like that, and works with both people's timelines, and accessibility for diverse learners. So we're taught how to teach people in multiple different ways for people who learn in different ways. So the cons for in-person are scheduling conflicts and availability. It's like I said, like with scheduling, like it can cause problems if both people have a bunch of stuff going on outside of school or in school. And we don't have as many available tutors to be in person. We have more tutors here that do virtual appointments. For asynchronous, the pros are flexibility, it's self-paced, and accommodation. So, it allows you can kind of do it at any time, and we can look at people's work from home, in school, anywhere really. It's more self-paced, so people can kind of look at their comments and go through it when they want to. So the cons, it's less personal, so we're not able to really connect with the 2D as much and understand like how they learn and like what they do in their writing. It's not immediate, so again with like due dates it can cause problems, but for time management and technology, so it's like hard to manage it sometimes, and you can have technological problems if maybe our comments don't work.
Now that we have discussed how asynchronous and synchronous tutoring compare and differentiate, the next question is why choose asynchronous tutoring when artificial intelligence can seemingly provide the same things? Research and personal experience show us that AI does not go in depth and only provides surface-level feedback. AI is capable of analyzing, but it doesn't properly edit people's papers. It summarizes and allows for overall feedback, which may not even be accurate at all times, and students can fall victim to editing their writing in a way that is incorrect for the class because artificial intelligence doesn't have that personal touch and understand what that student's classroom or assignments look like. On the other hand, asynchronous tutoring is really beneficial because it does have that personal human touch. You get real feedback from a real person, and this is typically a peer who understands how to personalize commentary and feedback to the student. And especially for us, because we have a small school, we all know all of our teachers, so we can accommodate for other potential feedback or other potential factors, such as the teacher's personal likes and dislikes. And it is more opinion-based, which, again, is that personal touch. Okay, now we're going to navigate the potentials of asynchronous tutoring. There's many different aspects that asynchronous tutoring could offer, and we just kind of want to discuss the different things that we could be including. Okay, for example, asynchronous tutoring is, as I've already said, much more personal than AI. Students with different learning approaches may find asynchronous feedback helpful as it can be tailored specifically to their needs. It offers that flexibility. For example, it could benefit students with increased learning needs by allowing more customization to the learning schedule in terms of time and feedback. It also can provide diverse communication channels, which may be beneficial to some, rather than that standard one-on-one conversational situation with tutoring. For example, text, audio, and visual catering can be used for different preferences. Finally, it can offer an extensive resource library, which allows students to access materials that support their unique learning needs, such as like podcasts or articles or books, and we can provide all of those online. Another aspect of asynchronous tutoring that can be really beneficial is when approaching more shy and introverted students. I myself am typically more introverted, and I find that when I want feedback, sometimes asynchronous can be really beneficial for this if I'm nervous about approaching another student. While some people may not have different learning styles, they can be nervous about approaching a tutoring session with an unknown peer, especially since it's kind of a one-on-one, more personal situation. So asynchronous can help those who prefer that independent style of learning. It also means that students who are anxious in a traditional classroom setting could choose their own kind of customized environment, so they could be in a more comfortable space for them, because they can access the tutoring from wherever they want, as long as they have a device. Finally, it can reduce stress for both students and tutors by allowing for more time for reflection before responding, which reduces the pressure to answer immediately. And I find that really helpful both as a tutor and a tutee, because I like to be able to process my thoughts. So this can be really beneficial to those who are on the quieter side. While we naturally want to talk about all the positive qualities with asynchronous tutoring, we must acknowledge the downsides as well in order to properly have thorough research. While it can be a positive thing for students to have time in between responses, it can also present a challenge if you're in a time crunch, as there will not be immediate clarification on questions or feedback. This can also decrease communication and cause student disengagement with feedback at times. On the tutor end, this means that feedback quality can it can decrease sometimes depending on their engagement. And overall, these lower engagements mean that the connection is much less personal. Another issue that we've found with asynchronous tutoring is that it presents the potential for over-reliance on AI-generated feedback, which would depersonalize the tutoring process, especially if both students and tutees are relying on AI to formulate, questions, responses, or written pieces. So focusing on decreasing that is what we're going to look at.
So also we want to talk about how to enhance asynchronous tutoring through peer tutors' context-dependent knowledge. So what this means is having peer tutors allows them to kind of have a knowledge about the school, about the students, specifically teachers, the type of citation teachers might want. Like, for example, our advisor, Ms. Strelke, she prefers MLA citation, but the history teacher, Mr. Tebbets, he might like Chicago style. So as a student, we know that, and we're going to help the people who may be working with one of those teachers. Assignment knowledge. An older tutor might have had this assignment in the past, which can help them have an understanding of what the teacher's looking for. We can access rubrics and all that, so it gives a more specific look at the assignment. Due dates also, we all have them, so we can really focus in on that as well. And we want to take all these things and put them into asynchronous tutoring. So leave them in the comments, really focus in on these things to help bring it all together.
So after all of this research that we did through discussion and reading online, we also decided to conduct our own study. We surveyed tutors and students within our school to collect data about their experience with asynchronous tutoring. So the first question we asked was for students. We asked, do you prefer asynchronous or synchronous tutoring as a student? And we found that the majority of students do prefer synchronous tutoring, which makes sense considering asynchronous is a very new option for us. But it just goes to show that it's important for us to work to expand it. Our next question was for the tutors. And this provided really interesting information because we asked them if they prefer asynchronous or synchronous tutoring, and we found that tutors really do prefer the asynchronous tutoring. And we think this is because they probably have a little more knowledge of the subject, and it helps work with their time constraints if they're busy with appointments. Finally, we asked students if they found their virtual tutoring session, their asynchronous tutoring session, to be helpful, and the majority said yes, which is a good reflection on our center. Finally, we asked an open-ended question, and these are just a couple responses, but we asked them, what are some ways we could improve asynchronous tutoring, and what is it lacking? As you can see, a couple students replied with some interesting responses. A lot of the common themes within these responses seem to be resources and communication or feedback.
So, interpreting this data, overall there is a gap to bridge between the effectiveness of asynchronous for tutors versus students. Tutors find it to be more beneficial than students do. Incorporating feedback on improvements can fix this issue. So solution-based research findings. After assessing this, we have decided on a number of solutions. Students need detailed and engaging feedback, which can be done by combining written and recorded feedback to enhance clarity. Another aspect to make asynchronous tutoring more clear is implementing structured rubrics for consistency. Finally, still placing this emphasis on clarity and communication, offering follow-up discussions through digital platforms.
Okay, so here are the changes that we are implementing in our own center based off all of this research. One important aspect is making our website as accessible as possible for everyone. This includes making headings clear and posting links in easy-to-find areas. Another really important aspect is making feedback as effective and efficient as possible to bridge the gap caused by asynchronous versus synchronous feedback. So we will be trying to increase our efficiency when responding to people's work. Following the idea of feedback, interaction after the session was another thing emphasized by our survey responders. We will do this by emailing our tuties after the session to check in and continue the conversation if needed. Hopefully this will allow that communication aspect and the connection aspect that is lost by asynchronous tutoring to be made up. Another change that we think is needed, especially since this is, again, a new process for our writing center, is creating things like posters or sending out information in the school newsletter in order to advertise asynchronous as a newly offered thing and just put out what could be useful for students about it. And finally, another beneficial aspect that we found asynchronous tutoring can offer is the specialized resources like videos, podcasts, and articles. So we will be looking for some new resources that we can send out customized based on the student. Our final takeaways is that asynchronous tutoring is really important to focus on in our center because it allows diverse ways for us to help other students. We can constantly improve it and make it better for our school and community to use. Asynchronous tutoring is a great way to expand our outreach.
So finally, we want you guys to brainstorm. Now that we've learned, how would you approach asynchronous tutoring, and what are some ways to expand on or create asynchronous tutoring? So you guys just discuss, and you can pause this or something. And to conclude, this is all our works cited, all the resources we went through, and thank you guys.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for listening.